3/4, 127 midway final turn, in the paint on top, body shop, racing, second Arrogant Hanover hangs on the outside.
Phoenix Trotting Park was a harness raceway that was built in Goodyear, Arizona in the mid-1960s. Well, the creator of the trotting park was James Dunnigan Jr. He was instrumental in the Buffalo Raceway in New York, and he came out to Arizona and, backed by a group of investors, decided to build a gleaming new harness racing facility in the desert. In harness racing, the driver sits on a two-wheeled cart called a sulky, which is pulled by the horse. It's a completely different style of racing, and one that was not familiar to most Americans at the time. The opening night ceremony had attendance of over 12,000 people. It was a very highly publicized event, very well attended, and a huge kickoff to what they thought was going to be a very successful business endeavor.
I'm Sally Kiko, and I first moved to Goodyear in 1945. The West Valley is always the last to get any amenities or sports teams, so we were pretty excited about that. I was an RN at the time and was offered a job in the first aid room. In that, it was just a small room. We had a bed, some first aid supplies.
The trotting park was designed to be a luxurious and state-of-the-art facility for its time. That included the design, which was done by Italian architects, and the design of the building actually pushed the project way over budget. Originally supposed to cost around $2 million, it ended up costing closer to $10 million to complete. The inside featured a restaurant, multiple levels of seating, concourse, and all the amenities of the day.
It was very well built. And the architecture was very good. There's one picture of one of the escalators with chandeliers overhead that just kind of depicts the class of the place. There were the general grandstands. On the higher levels, you had nicer seats and a bar close by. And then there was the Sunset Casino where they had fine dining with white tablecloths and good wine.
At the time, Phoenix was dramatically smaller than it is today, and the trotting park was located far outside the downtown city center. This was 20 years before Interstate 10 was completed, and Van Buren Road out to Goodyear was a main thoroughfare. So for $1, you could buy a bus ticket from downtown Phoenix out to Goodyear to come watch the horses run.
When Dunnigan came to propose the facility, the politicians jumped all over it. They were just happy to get development at whatever cost, and they promised him the freeway would be by in 2 years. It was completed 20 years later. Goodyear was a working class town. There weren't a lot of horse bettors or people that gambled. They didn't have the extra money to do that. The owners were looking for the people to come out from Scottsdale and Paradise Valley.
The trotting park actually only ran for about 2.5 seasons. The first season was fairly well attended, and after that, attendance started to drop off to just a few thousand people on a weekend showing up for the races. So it wasn't immediate, but it quickly became obvious that the crowds were not sustainable to keep the operation going.
Even I thought it would get better. The initial grand opening was huge. There were a lot of people there, and as time went by, the numbers dwindled. But every once in a while, you'd have a good night, and they did promotional things to try to bring people in on special nights. In retrospect, I'm kind of surprised that they opened the third season.
Summer vacations, you're driving to California or go to the beach with your family. You see that on the way there. You see it on the way back. It was always their kind of visual spot that they were back home.
So one of the most famous things to ever happen at the trotting park after its closure was its role in the 1998 movie No Code of Conduct, starring Charlie Sheen. The movie was directed by Bret Michaels of Poison fame. The final showdown of the film has the smugglers and the good guys facing off in the abandoned trotting park, and there's a massive explosion that takes place that is kind of the pinnacle of the film. The trotting park, as much as I would have liked to have seen it saved, was built for one very specific purpose, which was a grandstand facility for horse racing events. That in turn made it very difficult to repurpose into another type of use.
naming a high school after the city is a big thing and a large undertaking. And if you're going to call yourself the Goodyear High School in the city of Goodyear, you better own up to it, and you better put in the work. And we're prepared to do so. Our staff is great. We're ready to go.
As a local girl, I'm very excited to finally have a Goodyear High School. I mean, we've never had a school by our name because we've always been part of another district.
One of the big iconic things about the horse track was the big frame windows in the front. In the movie, glass got blown out, and so our architects did a really cool job. They actually took the frame pattern of the old windows and incorporated that into our tile. And so in all of our actually all of the restrooms there, the tile is the same pattern as the horse track windows.
When I found out that the new Goodyear High School is going to incorporate design elements of the trotting park into the school, I was really happy. I love when people build forward, but keep that connection to the past and to the community. I think that's such an excellent example.
During construction, one of our superintendents found a horseshoe, and it's an old, rusted, mangled thing, and so it doesn't look like much. But anytime you find something that relates to what was there before, right, that's a cool thing. And we found out that Burrsville was the name of the horse that won the first race at the track when it opened up, and so we're calling it Burrsville Shoe. We're putting up a plaque on our wall by the field house for all of our athletes. You know, they can tap that horseshoe for good luck on the way out to the field. We wanted to celebrate Goodyear and the West Valley, frankly, because this whole place was built on people who had that maverick mindset.
I think a lot of the fascination with the facility is due to rumors and urban legend, drivers that died at the track, and that's why it's closed, and all these kind of myths and legends surrounding the facility. So I think it lives on in people's popular culture for those reasons.
In this modest town of Goodyear, even before it grew to this size, it had a beautiful building that was designed by an Italian architect.